Hi class, here to talk to you tonight about muscular flexibility and what I learned from the textbook as well as an outside resource. And so first, when I was reading the textbook, one thing that I saw that I really agreed with is it said that as we decrease in flexibility, we lose mobility. And that is something my husband and I have actually started researching and looking into, and especially with our parents getting older and everything, and we've really noticed a huge difference. But one thing that really shocked me is when the textbook talked about how elderly people struggle to even turn their neck to look over their shoulder while they're driving, or to even turn their trunk of their body. And that was shocking to me. I knew they were losing mobility, but not to the extreme that they couldn't even turn their neck or their trunk. And so that was a shocker. That is one thing I definitely want to avoid as I grow older. The new piece of information that I took from the textbook is that with elderly people, it might be better to start with a simple stretching routine and wait and start an exercise program later. That they've lost so much mobility that simply doing stretching programs is where they need to start. My outside resource was a podcast by Tim Ferriss. He interviewed Christopher Sommer, who was a U.S. national team gymnastics coach, and he started a new program called Gymnastics Bodies, and what it focuses on is joints in the body. And what he really talks about in this whole podcast and everything that he does is that we need to start with the foundation of our body before working on muscular strength. And so he talks about the different joints in the body and how to develop muscular flexibility, and through that we will actually develop muscular strength stronger than ever before. But before he started talking about that, one thing that he talked about is a new problem that's really occurring in our generation, and that's called the text neck. T-E-X-T, texting neck. So I knew they were talking about having, texting thumb, but now there's a text neck. And what he said is that people are actually having the muscles in their neck are being damaged, and it's actually causing damage to the spine because they're walking around all day long. And there's different levels. There's like 5 different levels of the text neck, but people are walking around, their shoulders are hunched over, and they're looking at their phones. And he said it's getting to the point where they're actually starting to lose mobility in their neck because of the damage they're doing from being on their phones so much and texting so much. The sad part is that the people who are most at risk are children. Another thing, when Tim was interviewing Christopher, is he found out that Christopher said whenever he talked to people and told them how important stretching was and tried to encourage them, that people really just ignored him. But when he told them it was required, that stretching was required, people just listened and did it. And so that was one thing I took away from the interview, is that sometimes motivating people on how to stretch is different. And sometimes telling people how important and awesome and amazing something isn't enough. They need to know it's required. He suggests having 2 to 3 different variations of warm-ups and stretching, and the reason why is our body is so full of different muscles and joints. A lot of times we'll get used to a certain warm-up routine, and we just continue to do that one over and over again, and then maybe change it on a weekly basis or a monthly basis. And he talked about having 2 or 3 different variations that we do throughout the week, so that we're addressing every muscle in the body and all of our joints, so that no part of our body gets ignored. The last thing that I took from this outside source was we can have muscular strength without mobility or muscular flexibility, but injuries are just around the corner. And what he talked about was a gentleman who had these huge biceps, just huge. And he wanted to see what his mobility was in his shoulder joints and his elbows and his wrists. And so he asked the gentleman to go to a pull-up bar and just hang his whole body, just to hang from the bar. And the guy had so little mobility, so little flexibility in his arms, that he literally, when he grabbed a hold of the bar and held on, he was in this position the whole time. He could not stretch his arms out fully like this. This is all the mobility that he had. And so what he talked about is that a lot of times we get so excited about muscular strength because it's easy to fix and you can see the results faster. But with mobility, with muscular flexibility, it takes a lot more time. And that when you are working on that, to measure it in months. Don't look at it on a weekly basis to see your progress. Wait until a month has gone by. Wait till a second month has gone by. Wait for that third month, 6 month, a year. That's when you really start seeing the progress. And I know a lot of times as a society, we want to see the effects right then and there. And with muscular flexibility and mobility, it takes a lot more time. And then one thing that I really liked was a quote that Christopher said. I changed one word because I don't cuss. But this is what he said. If the best in the world are stretching their butts off in order to get strong, why aren't you? And so I thought that was really great. And he talks about working on mobility first before strength. And then in the long run, we'll be stronger. As far as how am I going to take and apply this to my personal life and my professional life, well, for one, my husband and I actually bought one of the programs from Christopher Sommer, and we're going to start working on our mobility. Not that we're horrible in a lot of areas, but there are areas that need a lot of improvement. And we tried some of the exercises already, and you can really feel a difference just in getting in that position and holding it. The next thing I'm going to work on is the text neck with our family, with our kids, with the kids in my classrooms. Educate them on what that is, and talk to them about how our heads are supposed to stay on top of our body. It's not supposed to be in this position for hours on end, and how damage is being done back there. So just educate people on that, and just remind myself to make sure my shoulders are back, that I have good posture, and that I'm avoiding damaging my neck muscles. Then another thing I'm going to do, because at first I had thought I will have a warm-up routine where my kids can come in and we'll change it maybe on a weekly basis or maybe on a monthly basis. Instead, I'm going to come up with 2 to 3 different variations. Maybe on Tuesdays and Thursdays we do this warm-up, Mondays and Fridays we do this one, and Wednesdays we do this one. And just change those up and make sure I'm really having a variety of warm-ups so that every muscle and joint in the body is being addressed, and we're not waiting a whole month to stretch out a muscle, that it's getting taken care of on a weekly basis. And so I hope something I shared was new information for you, and have a great night, and we'll see you next time. Bye.